Welcome to this video series where we're discussing the biomechanics of the cross or rear hand straight punch. So when we're throwing a punch off the rear hand, one of the primary determinants to developing power in the punch is the ability to transfer force from the back leg to the front leg. The first part of this equation is developing sufficient force through that back leg, and this occurs through a process of triple extension of the hip, knee and ankle on that side. Because of this, it's important that we have adequate hip extension range of motion on that back leg so that we can utilize that leg to transmit the force up through the leg and through the rest of the kinetic chain and into that terminal stage of the punch. If this range of motion is restricted, there's a number of interventions that we can incorporate to try and optimize this range.
We can perform the split squat, which is typically used as a strengthening exercise for the front leg. We can also use this as an active flexibility exercise for the back leg. So if we're targeting the left leg in a right split squat position, slowly lowering down in the movement and allow that lengthening into extension through the hip of the back leg. So we can address some hip extension restrictions with the use of a band or a strap as a self-performed mobilization with movement. The most typical directions that we perform these movements in are one of posterior glide, so having the strap or belt around the front of the hip so that the belt is applying a anterior-posterior glide, and then maintaining that glide, moving the hip into extension.
Once we've optimized this range of motion, we want to reinforce it with some strength and power work. And particularly in our specific phases of preparation, we want to include exercises where we're stressing the muscles, stressing the hip extensors close to that range of motion where we'll be utilizing them in the punch.
The single leg hip thrust is a terrific exercise for developing strength and control into hip extension, and particularly in that terminal range where it's required in the punch. Sled pushes are another terrific way of developing terminal range hip extension strength and have the advantage of being loaded in the horizontal plane. We can see here the similarities in the hip extension movement between the punch and the sled. And the kettlebell swing is an excellent exercise for developing hip extension power and is demonstrated here with the added resistance of an elastic band, increasing the load into terminal hip extension.